Spoken like a true Caucasian who has never had to deal with adversity simply because of your skin tone. Not adversity because of your educational level, not adversity because of your income level, not adversity because of any physical disabilities, but adversity simply because you are of darker skin tone. You see, you've never walked into that interview for an IT job and they see this dark skin and automatically disqualify you because they didn't expect back in the late 90s that black people can be in that field. You didn't walk down the street and happen to lean over to tie your shoe and hear something whisk past your head to look up and see them retracting a bat and then chase you for a quarter mile simply because of your skin tone. You didn't walk down the street and hear people yelling out racial epithets at you and all you was doing was walking down the street. You didn't go and befriend a young lady and then her father makes her move simply because he didn't want his daughter to date somebody of this skin tone or even be friends with somebody of this skin tone. You see, you've never experienced any adversity because of that. So for you, skin tone doesn't matter. Skin tone shouldn't matter. And it's very disingenuous of you and people like you who thinks that if we just all ignored anything about skin tone, then it'll all go away. It doesn't go away. It goes away when people like you talk to the other people who look like you, who continue to push the hurdles in front of people simply because of where they're from, what their skin tone looks like. When people like you do something about it, then it might make a difference because when those find themselves on the outskirts and that they are not in the majority or the majority of people like you are just ignoring them and thinking everything is okay and then putting the blame for any adversities on the people who are going through the adversities, then maybe something will change. But when you decide to come on my platform and you want to say that skin tone is ridiculous, then it just shows your ignorance to the plight of people who have suffered simply because of the color of their skin. You look old enough that you should know about the 60s. You should know about Jim Crow. You should know about segregation. You look old enough that you should know about those things. I'm sure that your parents probably told you about those things if you're not old enough to know about those things, because my parents certainly told me about those things, about how they were spat on as the Caucasian kids rode on the bus going past them, how when they integrated into schools, how they were treated by the Caucasian kids and teachers. Like they told me about these things, of how they were forced to train this Caucasian kid who just came into the job and train them to be their manager. And that kid doesn't even know how to do the job, but they were given those privileges. About how when they tried to buy a house in their own neighborhood, they couldn't get the loan because of redlining. And they had to save up an exorbitant amount of money in order to buy the house or just buy land and have to build their own house on it because they couldn't buy a house because of redlining, or they couldn't buy a house in a neighborhood that they desired to buy one in because the realtors wouldn't sell to a person of this skin tone, whether they had the money for it or not. You don't know about all of that. You think that everything's just hunky dory. Everything's perfectly fine now. But sadly, sir, it's not. It is still not there. And as long as people ignore it, it'll stay there. Isn't there some kind of quote that says something about tyranny still exists because good men sit by and do nothing? Are you one of those good men who sit by and do nothing? Because I'm not saying that you are a bad person, but maybe the way you're thinking is not in line with what's actually going on in the world, not in line with the reality that most of the people on the planet are still having to deal with. So you have a good day. And remember always, you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non negotiable. Good journey, good vibration. Oh, and by the way, this is not one of those woe is me victim mentality videos because I got the job. I kept fighting to get jobs. I kept fighting to start my companies. I bought houses where I wanted to buy houses, and I invoked the law if they tried to stop me. So I goes and get my shit done. So it's not one of those. So don't get it confused.